Linux Mint versus Ubuntu in 2026. The better choice for Linux newcomers. Linux in 2026 is more approachable than ever. Modern installers, excellent hardware detection, and polished desktop mean most people can go from download to a working system in under 30 to 45 minutes. No deep wiki dives or bootloader prayers required. For first time users, the decision often narrows to two strong options: Ubuntu and Linux Mint. Ubuntu remains the most recognized name. You will see it everywhere in tutorials, developer docs, cloud guides, and YouTube videos. Linux Mint is the quieter, user focused recommendation, ideal for those who want Linux to feel like a normal, reliable computer right away. Both are excellent and share the same strong Ubuntu based foundation. Mint 22.x builds on Ubuntu 24.04 LTS, while Ubuntu 26.04 LTS Resolute Raccoon is the newer release. The real question is, which one makes your first week smoother and less frustrating? Now, about the first impressions. Familiarity wins for beginners. New users often underestimate how jarring a different desktop can feel. Linux Mint's flagship Cinnamon desktop is designed with this in mind. It features a traditional layout like bottom panel, start menu in the corner, system tray on the right, and intuitive window controls that feels instantly familiar to Windows users. You can minimize, maximize, pin apps, drag files, and navigate without relearning workflows. Ubuntu 26.04 uses GNOME 50, a modern, elegant environment with an activities overview, app grid, dynamic workspaces, and a search first approach. It's powerful and refined once you adapt, but it can feel slightly alien on day one for Windows switchers. The workflow encourages thinking differently about the desktop, which adds a small but noticeable learning curve for complete beginners. The verdict here is Linux Mint wins for instant comfort. Many reviewers and users note that Cinnamon reduces the initial "this feels like homework" reaction. Now, about the installing software. Simplicity matters. Both distros offer excellent graphical software managers, a huge leap from the old terminal heavy days. Ubuntu leans into snap packages by default. Snaps offer good security sandboxing, automatic updates, and easier cross-distro distribution for developers. However, they can sometimes launch slower, use more disk space, and spark debates about centralization. New users may get confused by packaging discussions online. Linux Mint prioritizes a calmer experience. It uses traditional Debian or Ubuntu packages, supports Flatpak out of the box for sandboxed modern apps, and avoids Snap by default. The software manager feels straightforward like a normal app store. Search, click install, and you are done with VLC, LibreOffice, Steam, or Spotify without extra friction. For newcomers, Linux Mint approach is generally less confusing and more predictable. Now, about the updates and maintenance. Building trust. Updates can intimidate beginners due to horror stories of broken systems. Linux Mint shines here with its Update Manager, a clear, friendly tool that explains changes well and pairs beautifully with TimeShift for easy system snapshots and rollbacks. Maintenance feels like a routine desktop task rather than sysadmin work. Ubuntu's tools are also mature and reliable, especially with its LTS focus. However, Mint's thoughtful interface and safety nets often make it feel safer and less stressful for daily users. Now, about the hardware support. This is Ubuntu's strongest area for very new hardware. Ubuntu's 26.04 ships with the Linux 7.0 kernel and newer components, giving it an edge on the latest Wi-Fi chips, GPUs, fingerprint readers, and power management. Mint 22.x, based on Ubuntu 24.04, performs very well on most machines, especially mid-range or older laptops, and offers lighter XFCE or matte editions. It includes hardware enablement options and a driver manager. For brand new 2026 laptops, Ubuntu might boot more smoothly out of the box. For everything else, Mint is often excellent. Now, about the ecosystem and long-term use. Ubuntu dominates documentation, tutorials, development, servers, cloud, and professional environments. If you are learning Linux for programming, DevOps, or tech careers, starting with Ubuntu aligns your desktop with most guides. Mint inherits most of that ecosystem, same package base, but tweaks it for desktop comfort. Most Ubuntu instructions work with minor adjustments, but beginners might need help with snap-specific differences. So who should choose what in 2026? Start with Linux Mint Cinnamon if you are switching from Windows and want familiarity. If you prioritize a calm, predictable daily experience. If you value out-of-the-box polish, time-shift snapshots, and a no-nonsense software manager. If you have older or mid-range hardware. Now, choose Ubuntu 26.04 LTS if you have very new hardware. If you want the absolute latest features, GNOME workflows, and strongest new hardware support. If you are aiming for development, servers, cloud work, or following mainstream tutorials closely. Now, about the final recommendation for most newcomers. For the average person trying Linux on a personal laptop in 2026, especially someone coming from Windows, Linux Mint is usually the kinder, more welcoming introduction. It focuses on making Linux feel familiar and reliable, so you can focus on using it rather than configuring it. Ubuntu is fantastic and powers much of the Linux world, but Mint removes more friction in those critical first days and weeks. Both are free, stable, and backed by strong communities. Download the latest ISOs, try them in live sessions, no commitment, and see what clicks for you. Linux has never been more beginner friendly. Welcome aboard.